Hey, Jordan, did you do anything this week?
Not really. I mean, it was pretty much the usual. Why?
I don't know. I was trying to figure out what the heck to talk about this week.
I don't know. I mean, we haven't really dropped any hints or anything. We haven't been talking about it on the podcast at all for the last couple episodes, so maybe we just won't talk about anything this week.
All right, show over. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Yeah, great show, everybody. Good episode. This will be an all-time record for the shortest show in the history of the podcast. This is episode number 38. So congratulations.
Mama, a podcast behind you. I love a little yes and moment on the intro as well. That
hmm
was well done.
I told you before I didn't know how to intro the show. I had something planned and then I completely forgot about it, but we did it. We're here and we actually have plenty to talk about this week. What could that be? I don't know. I don't know what that could be. What could it be?
I don't know. Beats me. There's no way. There's no way of knowing. Okay, one of us has to change.
No.
No, that's actually true. And you know what? It's about that time. I'm cracking open a celebratory Red Bull for this edition of the
Oh,
podcast.
look at that. Jordan's
And it's
fancy
sugar-free.
today.
It's sugar-free. This
Nice.
is the new winter edition. So we're going to pour that in the JB mug while Richie does the intro.
Oh, well, welcome to the show. It's 1 hour, one brain cell. This week we are celebrating the week that was. We are celebrating the birthday of our 5 foot tall, tattooed guitar playing god that is Julien Baker. We are recording on JB's birthday, so happy birthday, Julien. I know you don't want us
Happy
to say
golden
that.
birthday also, if that's a thing that we're acknowledging.
Time out. Can you explain that to me? Why
Yeah,
is that called that?
it's like whatever year it is when you turn the age that's the same as the day of your birthday. So like mine was my 20th because I was born on the 20th.
Oh.
So hers is today because she's 29 on the 29th.
Oh, so you know what my golden birthday was? Would you like to know?
It's when you were a child. It already happened.
That's when I was a literal baby.
Yeah, it was your first birthday. Yeah, I know this. I know this about you, Aquarius.
Unreal. I had no idea that was the case. I did not know that was a thing. That was like something, but whatever. Anyway, yeah. So happy birthday, Julien. Even though, again, I don't think you want us to say that. We'll get to that in a little bit. But anyway, it was a busy week for the show. I'm joined by my co-host Jordan, who is has a new child that nobody knows about.
Oh my God, don't scare my mom like that. She's listening. It is. It's currently, well, I'm joined by my co-host Richie, who was half present for the adoption with his go-go gadget arms. Our child collectively of the podcast is currently hanging on my wall, so I can't display it because it took a
Our
lot of effort to
precious.
get it up there. But yeah, our precious. We posted pictures on our
I was
socials.
about to
Go
make
look
a
if you know
joke,
what we're talking
but I'm not going to make that joke because it's kind of mean.
about. Okay. That's okay.
No, I'm
Neither of
just
us are
kidding. No,
financially
you
stable
made
enough
so
for
many.
an adoption anyway.
You made so many dang old jokes at my expense while we were standing in line that I can make one short joke. Okay, here's my short joke. Did you have to get a ladder to put up the set list on your wall?
No, actually, I didn't, but I did knock over my entire tower of Red Bull doing so. So I don't know if it was worth it, but No, I only have, I don't know how tall these ceilings are. They're maybe 8 or 10 feet or something. Now, my last apartment, let's talk, because I could not reach those ceilings. It was like 12 or 13 foot and like, slanted on an angle at some parts. I was like, well, I'm not changing the light bulb if it goes out.
All right. Well, it was a busy week this week at OHOBC HQ because um, we have been planning this for, I feel like, over a year at this point in time. We began talking about it, and we were trying to manifest it happening at some point. And by golly, it did. And so both of us, we got to see Julian Baker in live, in person, like right in front of us, perform some music for us, and it was incredible. And that's what we're going to spend the entire show talking about. So
Probably. I mean, we have a couple of extra like softball points if we have enough time, but we'll
yeah,
probably spend an hour yapping
we can
about
get there at the
this.
end.
So.
Before how's the Red Bull? How's the Red Bull? I didn't even let you describe the.
Well, I've been trying to process it like as we've been talking. The flavor is called iced vanilla berry. This is the winter edition. This year. It's a very pretty color. It's kind of matching here.
It matches.
It's not as close as the sea blue perhaps, but it's close. It tastes like berry. I can't say it tastes like iced or vanilla necessarily, but I don't know. It's got a little chill to it. I mean, it's good. It's very, very drinkable, and it doesn't taste overly like sweet or overly like chemicals, or some of the other flavors are like very strong. This is very easily palatable, I would say. But I don't know what it tastes like other than berry. It's good though. It's like an 8 out of 10.
I would say it is the winter edition, and I don't know if it's available here in Arizona yet, and it shouldn't be because it's sure as hell isn't winter here, folks. It's 117 on Saturday. It will be 110, I think, today on the 29th. It is September 29th, and it is still 110 plus degrees. Whomst thought it was a good idea to let people inhabit this part of the planet?
I don't know whom thinks it's a good idea to live there. I mean, when I was growing up, like it felt like progressively it just got warmer on Halloween every year, and that was kind of my metric, was like when I was a kid, you could wear a full Halloween costume and not sweat your butt off like outside trick-or-treating. Or maybe it was just like the heat tolerance you had as a kid, versus your heat tolerance as an adult. But when I started to get older and it routinely was like kind of pushing 100 degrees on Halloween a couple times, you're like, whoa, what is this? Who was this designed for? No one should inhabit this.
Yes. And so yeah, winter edition Red Bull probably not coming to Arizona for another few months at this point in time. So.
You'll get it for 2 weeks in January and then it'll go away. That's winter.
Yeah, exactly. That's so true. That's so true. Anyway, let's begin. Okay, so I would just like to point out that I have generally had very good travel luck in terms of flying anywhere and not having to deal with massive headaches. Which is because generally I'll just fly like straight through direct, and that did not happen this time. I had to fly. There were no like direct flights that worked out timing wise, so I had to have a connecting flight. And I was like, hey, you know what? I'll fly. So I had a couple options, and I was like, I'll fly into LA because LA, there's no weather in LA, so there's not going to be a ton of delays. Well, joke's on me, everybody, because I jinxed myself and had to deal with about an hour plus delay of my connecting flight from LA to Indianapolis. So
to be fair,
Triff
it was not
start.
LAX's fault. I would like to say it was not LAX's fault. It was Houston's fault, and that was the hurricane's fault. So we can just blame the hurricane for all of this. Okay.
Yeah, well, yes, we'll go with that because yeah, the flight
Yeah.
was late, like getting in and leaving and stuff. Anyway, showed up. So I showed up. I got in like an hour plus late to Indianapolis. Um, so that was it. Got off to a rough start, and so we were on the road to Chicago pretty late. So Jordan had to drive in a deluge of rain for multiple hours at a time. And you did a great job. Great job. It was like a
Thanks.
Max Verstappen esque drive in the rain.
It was not speeding. It was simply safe, and we had some overtakes. Yeah.
Plenty.
And then we accidentally went down the witch's road that one time, but I don't know where
Yes.
the GPS was trying to take us. So, okay, I'll disclose this. If you know anything about Indiana or the Midwest in general, you've probably heard of Gary, Indiana, and heard how unsafe it is to drive through Gary. And I know tons of people who work around me, and we also have like a family friend who one time stopped in Gary or something, and a cop came and was like, "Why are you stopping here? Like, keep going. This is not safe for you to stop here." It doesn't necessarily, I think, deserve that bad of a reputation, but you certainly don't want to be caught out there without a plan, or for more than just a brief let's stop for gas deal.
Hmm.
um so we stopped for gas at like a travel center or something easy, and like, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half outside of Indianapolis, because we were like, we don't have to we don't have to mess going through Gary. We don't have to mess getting gas in Chicago, which like could be a mess. I don't want to move the car once we go and get the car there and we street park the car.
Hmm.
I don't want to move the car and put gas in it because that would be a mess. So we tried to plan ahead, and I told the GPS to take us a certain route. And I've never driven to Chicago before, so I was just like, let's go around Gary. The way that it took us, there was like a dirt road detour, and then it had us like essentially bear right directly onto a highway from a near dead stop, essentially. It was like, this is going to get us killed. It was dark and it was raining, and we had just hit one of those nice transitions on our Spotify playlist where it went from like hot to go into the Ballad of the Witches Road. And we're screaming down this dirt road, like, where the hell are we? There's no streetlights. There's like no other cars around. And I don't know any better. Like, I've never driven this way. I don't know how to
Hmm.
fix this if we're going the wrong way. We just let it happen. And at some point got back on and just pretended like that didn't happen. And then the way back was fine. I was like, I don't know why it didn't take us that way when we went, because it was all highways on the way back, but it had some ideas for us on the way going. We made it.
The Witches Road. That was so funny. That yeah, that was.
It was an experience. You
Never,
had to be there.
never, never again. Never again. Um, there was Jordan and I put together a playlist, obviously, and truly terrific playlist. I'd even
It's true.
mark some of
And
the. I Go ahead.
I hit the end of it. We did a great job because I just hit the end of it, like, I don't know, 20 or 30 minutes away from home on once I
Hmm.
had dropped you off on the way back, because I just let it keep playing. And I know we skipped some things, so like time wise that makes sense, but like we had the exact amount of time correct that we needed. So I would like to give us a hand for that creation.
Elite status.
Yeah.
And the one note was to make it as chaotic as possible, and I feel like we did that because there were some truly terrific transitions from song to song that gave us really terrific whiplash. Also a startling amount of Pitbull.
Yeah, I don't recall putting that much Pitbull on there. I don't think you recall adding that much Pitbull, but between the two of us, there was a lot of Pitbull on that playlist. It was very Mr. Worldwide. We had, I don't know, generously, I would estimate like at least 15% Pitbull or Pitbull features. It was a lot.
I think
It was
that's
a lot.
yeah, that's true. There were like
I
it
could
was
do
at
the
least
math.
once every like fifth song. There was there's more pit there's more there are Pitbulls.
And that's eventually where we started to get into the skips on the way back. We're like, okay, that's enough.
Too
Need to get
much
past
Pitbull.
this. Too much pit. Yeah.
Um, I didn't keep track of a lot of the some of the. You tweeted this out from the brand account. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Which was you tweeted out some of the hilarious transitions that we got on our playlist.
And this was just on the way going too. I can't
Yes,
recall as many on the way back. Maybe it was just because
because
it
it
was
was
like
so
so
damn
early in
early
the
in the
morning,
morning.
and I
Yeah, we
was
were
trying to
both like,
survive on the Dan Ryan Expressway. I was like,
both of us were trying to stay awake there for.
yeah.
All right, let's see. There we go. Look it up. Stalling, 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 stalling. Some more. Hello, hello, hello.
I'm
Oh, there's
texting
me.
my dad about fantasy football while this is happening. Oh yeah,
There's a
there's definitely a
picture.
picture of you on there.
There's a picture of me. There's a picture of you and I. There's a random picture I took at 7 o'clock in the morning that was like blurry as hell. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, it was like
Early
through a
fit.
glass window.
Early favorites for best Whiplash. We had Hot to Go to Ballad of the Witch's Road.
Mm-hmm.
We had Bo Burnham's Biden into Creed's Higher, which I truly think may have been the number one seed for Whiplash.
Yeah, that might be the winner. I don't know though, because we had some Julien Whiplash.
Yes, the other one was Go Home into Right Round featuring Kesha.
That's that. I think that's my one seed, to be quite honest with you.
Truly, we went from one of the saddest songs a person can imagine to one of the most banger songs a person can imagine.
I don't know if you know anything about Right Round featuring Kesha, but that song does not have a subtle intro. It's like immediately in your face, full synth, full production. It's incredible. That song could probably wake me from a coma, but like having it immediately after what preceded it was very much audio whiplash.
It was, yes. The
It
entire
was good.
playlist was like that. We had
That's
truly
what
a
we were
terrific.
trying to achieve, and
Yes, yes.
I dare say we achieved it.
We did a good job. We did a good job.
Yeah.
It was a great playlist. So cheers to both of us on that. That was a job well done. Okay, so once we get into town, we find where we're supposed to go, and Jordan has to parallel park her rental car. Now, please, I'll let you describe the situation here because there's a couple things that just are way too funny.
There's a couple of factors involved here, which is that one, the aforementioned playlist is still going. So whatever you believe to be the soundtrack to this experience, just give it an illicit drug and then multiply it by 12, and that probably about fits. So we're driving around the streets of this neighborhood in Chicago looking for our Airbnb. We know what street we have to be on, which is great because we know generally what area we're cool with. So we're cruising around looking for a spot. And then obviously, since it's like a downtown neighborhood, there's like one-way streets and all kinds of stuff. I'm like, we're gonna go the wrong way down a one-way while I'm trying to flip this dang rental car around. So we pass a couple of spots a couple of times. We're like looking on the left, looking on the right. I find one on the right. I kind of square it up, and then I'm like, no, it's too tight. I thought I could do it. That was maybe a little ambitious. So we square that one up. We're like, that's probably not it. So we got to keep going. So we go and we flip around and go around the block. And I'm just imagining now somebody sitting outside their unit just giggling as we just drive around the block for like, 3 or 4 tries trying to size up a parking spot. So we finally nail a parking spot. I haven't probably parallel parked a car more than once since I stopped living in downtown Phoenix, approximately 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Just we don't really parallel park here in the Midwest. We have parking spots. Backing in, sure, but parallel parking is a different beast. So it takes me about a try to get my feet under me. And I'm like, okay, so this was bad, but this was to be expected. Because if we had nailed it on the first try, I would have been insufferable about it for like the rest of my life. It was kind of bad. So anyway, I back out. I'm pulling forward. Thankfully, it's like late enough at night where there's not other traffic coming on the street, and I'm free to just like try as many times as I need to. And I quickly realize that there is an issue with parallel parking that I've never personally run into before, which is that my passenger is an over 6 foot tall man, and he is blocking the entire passenger side window. So I'm trying to size this up, and I can't see squat out there because Richie is sitting there minding his business, playing ABBA, just vibing, having a good time. And I'm like, Richie, you need to lean forward. Like, I can't see. So he's leaned forward, and he gets to the point where he is hugging his knees like he's performing an airplane emergency landing crash safety demonstration. Like he is, yeah, folded all the way forward, like headless horseman. And we're in a sedan, also important to mention, not a lot of room in there. He's fully like up into the dashboard, doing his very best to be out of the way while I'm trying to do this. And it takes me about another half an attempt to be like, okay, it's there, but I just got to cut it more. We finally cut it. And I'm saying that it took us probably about 2.5 tries. But after that 2.5 effort, I was very close to the curb. We were really good. We were not in the street at all. We were chilling. We were perfectly straight up and down, and we could just leave the car and let it sit there. And that was the best part because I didn't have to move it because we were walking distance to the venue.
Yes. Genius on our part, by the way.
Did I miss
Top
anything? Did you get it?
No,
Did I miss
you nailed it. You got it. Yeah, you got it. You got it. The best part was you yelling at me because I'm too tall. So I was like, how do I get out of the way?
You can't. I'm like, the only other way that he would have been able to get out of the way was for him to get fully out of the car. And I was like, I don't think we're at that point yet. But if it maybe would have taken me another try, I would have been like, get out. Get out and spot me.
You did a great job. So
thank you.
Better than I would have done because I would have been like, F this. I can't do that. I'm not nope. No chance. Absolutely not. Can't do it.
It's totally possible. And for those of you that may be a little unsure about your parallel parking prowess, RuPaul has a video on how to parallel park for those of you that are novices about this. That's actually probably pretty helpful. It's not how I learned, but like it's probably pretty helpful.
Maybe I'll have to watch that because you never know when I might have to parallel park, even though I try to avoid it as much as possible. We got to the Airbnb. There was a spider outside, which you did not realize it was there when we rolled up.
Yeah.
Thanks for
not telling me.
I intentionally did not tell you it was there while you were trying to open the door.
It was large too, and like I was bear hugging a case of water, right, carrying it like a football. I was bear handling a case of water, and I go and I set it down on the railing because I'm trying to mess with this digital keypad, and it's a little finicky, but I go and I set this case of water down on the railing, and I just thought that there was a spider web. Like I saw the spider web. I did not see the occupant until later, and the occupant was probably the size of a silver dollar. It was huge. And I thank you for not telling me because I would have had a freak out. I don't gel with that.
I've known you for too long. Most people, yeah. If I would have told anybody about that, they would have freaked out. Meanwhile, I thought it was cool. I was like, oh, that's cool. It's a spider. Sick.
You're like, oh, look at it. Like, keep me far away from that. Just like saw it from the outside window. I was like, oh, that's large. You're like, yeah, you didn't see that earlier? It's like, no, thanks for not telling me.
Yeah, so we got in pretty late. So we both of us went to bed because we knew we had to be up fairly early. Jordan did scare me at one point though.
Not on purpose. It was an accident.
Not on purpose. I'm trying to describe this for the people, what this looked like to me. We have a picture of this. We're not going to share it, obviously, but
it's also because the picture doesn't really do justice how horrifying it apparently was. Because it's an iPhone camera.
Yeah, it was. It was like letting too much light in. But Jordan like has to, I don't know, you were at the kitchen table grabbing something real quick and it's in complete darkness. And so all I see is your visage. That's it. I just see like an outline of your visage. It was like the last MF style. I was like, There's no light
I
going
wasn't
on.
even doing anything. I figured you knew that I was there. It was like, bright enough. I'm like, it's not a big deal. I just like had to go get some Advil out of my bag that was on the kitchen counter, and I like walked out, and he's like, "Oh my God, don't do that." What? He's like, I need to show you how scary this looks from my perspective. And it doesn't justify just how scary it was, but it was apparently quite a sight.
It was too much. It was yeah, it was ridiculous. And straight out of a horror movie. So thank you for that.
Yep. I'll take responsibility for the lack of sleep that you got that night.
Wasn't too bad. I fell asleep at like, I don't know, 12:30 or something. I don't know. I don't actually don't remember, but it's all a blur at this point in time. Time doesn't exist. It's
Nope.
not real. Also, yeah, speaking of that, time in airports does not exist and is not real as well. But I described that to Jordan last week as well. Because I was eating like
You
I
can
think
describe it. Yeah, describe it for the people.
yeah. So the reason why I thought of this is because I showed up at the airport to leave from Phoenix at about 5:30 in the morning or something like that, like 5:30, 6 o'clock, and you can go by and there's a few places open like that are serving alcohol, and people were just drinking alcohol at 5:30 in the morning. I was like, I was like, man, time really doesn't exist in airports if you're drinking alcohol at 5:30 in the morning. I know there's like all types of different like whatever and but anyway. So that's what made me think of that. And then later on in the day, this is like I get into LA and I have some time to eat and I'm like, okay, what do I want to eat? Oh, you know what I can eat? I can eat KFC chicken sandwich at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Horrifying. It's horrifying.
Time does not exist in airports.
No, it's true.
Scene. Okay, back on track. The next day, so Jordan obviously you were smart and you looked at the weather ahead of time before I left, and you were like, oh, well, it looks like it's going to rain. So I was smart enough and I managed to pack some rain supplies. So I packed some pants and I packed some like a zip jacket, and I also brought like a raincoat type thing. Anyway, so we are first of all, we were the first in line. Okay, we're gonna say that we were the first people there.
It's true. We were the first person to pull up and check in at the venue, and we were there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were like, okay, well, it's early and no one else is here, so we're going to go get a coffee. We got a coffee and a breakfast sandwich and came back, and we're still the first people there.
Mm-hmm.
And then more people showed up, and I guess it seemed like they had been there the night before, so they knew like where to sit and where to be. So we jumped in the line, but we were first, for the record.
Yes, we were. 7:30 in the morning. Some people were making fun of me for that earlier this week. Someone was like, "Oh yeah," they were like, "Hey, how was the concert?" And I was like, "Oh, it was great. It was so much fun." I was like, "Yeah, we got there at 7:30 in the morning," and and I got laughed at. I was like, "What do you? Why? Why?" And this person was like, "I would have done that in my like teens and 20s, but not in my 30s." I was like, "You know what? It was worth it. Shut your mouth, okay?"
It's true. And while generally I think that camping culture has gotten a little out of hand,
Mm-hmm.
there were people that said that they got there at 3 a.m. for the show the day before, and I simply refuse to believe that that's true. Because, I mean, why would you be there before sunup? And it's not like you're allowed to stay on property. Like, it's in the middle of an active city. It's for a safety and all kinds of other reasons. You shouldn't be camping overnight. You shouldn't be there before the sun comes up, for sure. I mean, we waited until sunrise to go and
Mm-hmm.
even wake up and try and make a move. Unless you're allowed to stay on venue property with security there 24/7, you're allowed to have tents or sleeping bags or chairs or whatever. You shouldn't be camping overnight. That's gotten a little out of hand and a lot out of control for some other shows and some other artists that we like. And it also poses an issue for ADA fans and concert goers, which I will say this venue did a very good job of accommodating, because they let them go in at the same time as the rest of us, and they didn't have to stand outside all day, and that's huge. So
Yes.
do that. Follow that
Shout out.
example.
Yes. Shout out.
That's one of the many things that this venue did right, but we'll get back to it.
Yeah. So yeah, we were in line for a long time, and it's a pretty nice morning. No rain in the morning. Nice morning. And then the deluge happened. And
Yeah.
it was like a nice incremental. For a while there, it was fine, and and we were able to I was like in our little spot. It wasn't raining hard enough to where like we were being drenched on, so we had a little bit of cover, kind of, which was great. And then as the day progressed, it got worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, that was tough. It was fine for the first little bit where it was
Mhm.
only just sort of lightly coming down, and then it started to get worse. And the spot where we were, so we were sort of pushed up against the patio, I guess you could say, for the venue. There's like a
Mhm.
restaurant that has some outdoor seating. It's not like officially a patio, but it does have a little overhang. We're like, we don't want to be blocking doors or anything. Like, we can't be in the way if we're going to be here all day. So we can't, be in the patio. So we just started the line right outside. And somebody from the venue came out at one point and was like, "Did anybody tell you that you couldn't be under here?" We were like,
Mhm.
"No, nobody's talked to us yet today." He's like, "Okay, well, let me move these planters and like please come in over, under the overhang and get out of the rain." And almost as soon as we did that, it really picked up, like kind of
Yeah.
exponentially. And there's probably about, I don't know, 7 to 10 of us at that point that were under the overhang. We're very grateful for that, because we would got soaked. And
Yeah.
I do think that was a big reason why this show maybe wasn't a good indicator of like how early you have to show up in order to get the spot that you want to get, because the weather kept most people away until way closer to
Yeah.
doors. So, don't necessarily take our example as the Bible for how to show up on time, but
Mhm.
it was that was much needed. And that was one thing the venue did right. The other thing the venue did right is like we had all been sitting out there all day pretty much, and they came around at one point and they were like, "Sorry you got soaked. Here's a pair of dry socks." They were like
Mhm.
from the venue. They were Thalia Hall branded merch socks, and they just came around and started giving people a pair of warm dry socks. And I have not seen or heard about that before, so that was really nice of them. And they were looking out for us as much as they possibly could without, breaking any
Yeah.
of their policies and exemptions and stuff. Like pretty much beyond letting us inside early, they did everything they possibly
Yeah.
could to accommodate that line. So
I agree. We did. I do have a picture I want to show here. I believe
mhm.
I'm trying to get it converted so y'all could see it.
I have a
It is
feeling I know
truly.
what picture this is.
Yeah, I think you know exactly what it is. Yes, absolutely. It it is maybe one of the greatest pictures in the history of mankind, and this is why Jordan is so much smarter than me, folks. Okay, so I'll set this up with by saying this. I When I wore thinking that it was like going to be kind of like it wasn't going to thunderstorm. I didn't think it was going to thunderstorm like it pretty much did for most of the day. So I wore like just a zip up hooded jacket basically, right? That's basically what I wore. And I was like, all right, well I can, if it's just like, light rain all day, that's fine. It was not that at all. And I should have worn my other jacket and I would have been perfectly fine. So I got like soaked. Like I wore pants and like I was just like drenched and it was not comfortable. Jordan,
Yeah, it was tough.
however, was smart and brought a and what I don't have what you called it here in the text. Let's see if I can look it up. But
Oh,
anyway,
I know what I called it.
you created a brand new invention that we are taking to Shark Tank.
Mhm.
What is it called?
It's called the Scarab, and it stands for Self-Contained Anti-Rain Apparatus, bro. Which is, and the breakdowns of the Scarab, which is the name inspired by the 1999 cinematic classic The Mummy, is it's just a poncho. It's a poncho, but it's a poncho draped over you have to be sitting in order to use this device properly. So if you're sitting and you kind of have your knees tucked up into your chest, you can get the extra length from the poncho down over the toes of your shoes of what you're wearing and have a fully contained insulated rain tent essentially, so that one, you're not getting wet on the outside, but two, and perhaps the most important part, is that your butt's not getting wet underneath, because once you sit on a wet spot, it's game over. Like that's the
Yes.
thing you have to try and avoid at all costs. Like if your shoulders get a little wet and your arms get a little wet and like your legs get a little wet, like not a big deal. But if you sit somewhere that's wet or your socks get wet, it's game over. So those are the two like
Yes.
major fatal things you have to avoid.
There we go. There's the picture.
There it is. Yep. And as you can tell, the spot underneath me is entirely dry. You can see the shoe prints where my feet were that I had scooted them back. Under my butt is perfectly dry. I was very well insulated, and then I have my phone going under there too, because like if you pull your arms in from the sleeves, you're also so good. None of your devices will get wet, and we're asking for $1 million for a 10% stake in our company. Essentially,
come invest in our company, Mark Cuban. Indiana Hoosier, Mark Cuban.
Indiana Hoosier.
Anyway, so yeah, we're in line all day. It goes by so damn slow.
It really did. We had some food breaks though, which was kind of nice. We got a little time out of the rain. There was a cafe across the street that was open until I want to say like 3 p.m. So most everybody that was in line with us at some point or another made a dash over there for like coffee or use the bathroom or get a meal or something and just get out of the rain for a minute. That also makes a big difference. Like you have to learn to take the little breaks where you can get them, because you think that you're brave enough to do all 12 hours out in the rain. And then at some point on like hour 7 or 8 in the rain, you're like, whose stupid idea was this? And then on like hour 10, when you can see the end, you're like, please go faster. And it just doesn't. It just won't. You're stuck there.
It's so true. There was a point in time where I left for a bit to go change and nearly die, but that's a whole other story. We'll keep that away from the podcast. But
you got some dry clothes, that was a game changer.
That was great. That felt great. Where I left, and I got a text from you that Julien had been locked out of the venue.
We did witness this. That's another thing about like having a small venue and having a line outside, is that when the artists pull up, several hours early, usually to do sound check or do setup or whatever it may be, you got to have most places I feel like probably have a side door. Like I'm sort of equating this to like a Broadway stage door, but it seemed like one of those didn't really exist at this venue, and people were just kind of trying to go in and out the front door. And the front doors were locked so that none of us, goblins that were camping outside could go in and monopolize the bathroom or hang out in the venue or whatever it may be, which extended to anybody trying to get in the front door could not get in the front door, including the artist. So we all just tried not to acknowledge that it was happening or make eye contact, but we kind of saw it occur and was just like, I feel for you. That sucks. It's raining. Like, please get inside as quickly as humanly possible. And it was all fine. And there were several more trips out of the venue, apparently, that like you guys caught. We had to let one of the openers in through the side door because the guitarist for one of the openers, which I didn't realize that was who that was at that point. But he like walked in, we saw him walk out, saw the door shut behind him. We're like, I hope you're not trying to go back in that way. He was indeed trying to go back in that way, pulled on the door, pulled on the other door, wasn't open. And like, you could see him about to, pick up the phone and call somebody. We're like, I'm pretty sure the door to the restaurant right here is open. So, he snuck in through the restaurant and it was a whole deal. But yeah, that was an interesting one. I certainly had not expected that there would just really be one entrance. that feels like a thing that doesn't happen very often.
That is pretty wild. Yeah, there was not like a service entrance where like a delivery back door to take deliveries. Nope, all the deliveries were showing up and they were all going through the one door, which was hilarious. Yeah,
Mhm.
and then we did get Julien did show up a couple extra times. She grabbed her coffee once and then walked inside. She gave us a little wave. Um,
Mhm.
and then a little bit later on, she left and then like went for a walk or whatever and like booked it across the street, which was really funny.
Yeah, it sprinted across a four-way intersection. It was really interesting, and just to it was nice though because it's nobody really made a big deal out of it, which
No,
I thought
no.
was good. That was like we all sort of acknowledged that that was who that was and that was what was happening, but nobody was like screaming, yelling, cheering, trying to get
Hmm.
a picture, like anything like that. It was
Yeah.
just sort of respect. Like they're trying to go for a coffee run. Just let them go for a coffee run. Dang it.
Yep.
So that was nice too. I think our line in our show generally had a pretty good etiquette with that. Nobody
Yes.
was
Yes.
nobody was overstepping and uh trying to get a little cuddly with any of the artists, I would say. It was pretty
Yes.
chill.
Yes. Very respectful. Very respectful. Even during the show, everybody was great. Um,
Mhm.
only 100 people, obviously, ish around or were capacity for the venue. So, and yeah, everybody was respectful. Everybody was great. Great show. We had space, so that was great. So yeah, we get into the show, and again, we're one of the first 10 people in ish or so, and so we walk in, bam, barricade, baby. Yes, we manifested and we got it. We did it.
We did. It really felt like an achievement. And after being outside standing in the rain all day to like be able to grab onto a solid piece of furniture and lean forward on it was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I didn't realize this until we were looking back at some of the pictures that we showed up in, but the person
Mhm,
that was standing behind me was tall. I was like, "Oh, it's a good thing I didn't get stuck behind them because I wouldn't have been able to see a lick of what was happening at the concert."
mhm.
So, it pays if you're short, it pays to show up early because then you know that you'll be able to see.
So true. I did feel kind of bad that I was. There were a couple people. There was me and like one other guy who was on the barricade who were like we're pretty tall. I'm like of course there'd be two of us who were tall on the barricade. And I did feel slightly bad, but like nobody complained about it as far as I know. Like everybody behind me was fine. I tried to like you know move a little bit so like people could see like maybe over my shoulder or whatever, or like lean down and give myself a couple inches. And I think it worked out well.
I think so. I didn't there was no pushing and shoving, there were no complaints, there was
Hmm.
no, it was the crowd was very chill. And like I said, the person behind me was tall, so I think if they were like trying to see over you at all, that wouldn't have been a problem at all. But
Yeah, yeah.
there were certainly some vertically challenged folks in and around us that we were able to see. Like we turning around to see, pass out the waters or anything from security, and it was like
Hmm.
there's an interesting distribution of height among the crowd, and some of it is very low and some of it is very high, and you just that's the game you play if you're in general admission. You never know who's going to
Yeah,
be in and around you, so you take it as it comes.
exactly.
But
Um, we set the over under at men showing up at 21 and a half. That was the number I set, and I didn't look close to the show as I was kind of looking more so during the opener breaks to kind of look back, and I'm pretty sure we hit the under by a pretty wide margin. If I had to guess, I would say there's only about a dozen or so, maybe 12, like around there. So we definitely hit
you
the
would
under.
you would know better than I would too, because you were strolling around the corner a little bit trying to survey how far back the line was at some
Hmm.
points. So I think you probably got a good gauge on it, but I was confident it would be the under, and it seems
I
like
think
it
we did.
was.
I think we did hit the under. Yeah. Also, yeah, I I had to. I was so damn antsy like the entire day. I would leave like every 10 minutes because I couldn't stay still.
It's true. It was like, "I'm sorry, my ADHD dog keeps wandering off." Like, that's just the way that he is. And there's one point where he, like, got up and just, like, stood and was staring at the rain. I was like, "Yeah, this is man activities." was like, I just planted my butt down and like it sat there and accepted my fate, but you were like up and like staring at the rain and looking to see who was around the corner. I'm like, this is man activity. That's okay. It's okay. To each their own.
I like watching it rain, okay? Don't make fun of me.
It's because it doesn't happen where you live.
It's true. Yeah, I don't know what this is. What is
Mhm.
this water falling from the sky? All right, openers. Openers. Katie Malco from
Mhm.
England. She was great. She was really funny.
She was really funny.
Could have done a whole stand-up act.
I agree, and I would go to see that. Apparently, it was worse the night before. She got so derailed that she had to cut a couple songs because she was just like spitballing with the audience. But we got more back on track the second night. I still do think that both of the openers probably went over because they were busy chatting with us, but that's okay. You like those kind of shows.
That's so true. Yeah, and she was great. Just her and her guitar, and she's a great guitar player, and has a beautiful voice. And Katie was great. So if she rolls through town, go check her out.
Yeah,
Um,
she's got a new song coming out this week.
oh,
What's
nice.
the date today? I think October 1st. So yeah, in a couple of days. So by the time this episode drops, one of the songs that she played for us that was unreleased will be out.
Mm-hmm.
So go and check her out. She's cool.
Yes. Second opener, Ratboys. They were incredible. They were so much fun. Great show. Actually, probably one of my favorite like opener sets I've seen in a long time, to be honest. Like I was actually listening to their most recent album this week after I got back. Like they're great. They were great, high energy, incredible guitars, cool sound to them live too. They had a little bit of kind of a western vibe at times in some of their songs. And they were so much fun. They were great.
They're local to Chicago as well, so that was cool. It was kind
Yes.
of a little hometown show moment for them. Yeah, they're good. They played 2 or 3 unreleased songs for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The thing I love that they did is they whether it was true or not, they gave us a little backstory about what most of their songs were inspired by. And, I think more artists should do this, but if I were to ever become not famous, but to the point where I would perform a song on stage in front of people, I would try and come up with the most out of pocket thing to tell people about, like, what a story was written about. You know what I mean? Just be like, "This was written about pulling into the McDonald's drive-through at 10:29 and being told that they weren't serving breakfast anymore." And then just have it be the most, like, gut-wrenching, awful song you've ever heard. But they had one that was like, "Hey, so this was written about Dave's parents' Pomeranian who has terrible separation anxiety." And then all the lyrics to the song was like, "Wherever you go, I'm coming with you." And it was just whether it was true or not, it was hysterical to see that develop in real time. So props to them for that. They're very clever.
Yes. Yes. And then we got to the main event of the evening, um, which was of course the Julian Baker, who was less than 10 feet in front of us, which was like insane. And both of us did not pass out when that happened.
No, but there were times where I was like, I can't believe I'm seeing this with my own eyeballs. I was just like willing my pupils to process that information and store it as deeply in my memory as it possibly can go. The good news was there were so many teenagers filming that I didn't feel the need to take out my phone and record anything,
Yeah.
and you did a handful too and sent them to me. You had some great shots, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it was like, I know other people are gonna be capturing this
Yeah,
moment, so
exactly.
I'm free to just sit there and experience it, and that is such a cool thing.
It's so true. Like that's the reason I only took like I think I only took like two like 10-second videos and a couple pictures because I wanted to mess with I had my iPhone 16 Pro, so I wanted to
Flex.
I wanted to put the camera to test, and boy did it come out amazing. There were some like incredible shots. I put them up I think on Instagram, maybe on my Twitter page. I don't know. You can go find it. Anyway, Jordan put a couple up on her page as well. Um, But yeah, so I did the same thing. It's like especially if you're front row, um, like I can imagine like being an artist on stage and just staring into a bunch of phones on the front row, right? Like that's
Terrible.
not no, right? You want to be have that connection to your audience, and so and there were a couple of people in front of us who would who record some songs. Um, that was a cool. I will say that was the great thing about one of the great things about being front row is that you weren't staring into a bunch of people with their phones up. So it was just us. It was like Julien was performing for just us, which was like insane. I thought about that later. It was like, God damn, that was freaking cool, man. It was like, I feel like Julien was performing just for us.
Yeah, and
There was nobody else
credit
there.
to everybody. Yeah, and credit to all of the musicians that were up on stage there is that I feel like it's cool for them too to be able to look at the people right in front of you and, you know, see them singing along and dancing and headbanging to Bloodshot or whatever the hell it was that we were doing. And just being involved in the music because it makes you want to give them a good show because you know that they're giving it back to you. It's an
Hmm.
exchange of energy between
Yes.
the artist and the crowd. And if you have a good barricade and you have a good pit and you have a good front of house that's leading that charge and leading that show,
Hmm.
it ripples through the rest of the crowd. If your pit is standing there, I'll call out again. I think we've called out before on this show, but remember the coin show that we went to where
Hmm.
all those girls
Yeah.
in VIP on the front row were just like recording the whole thing and not being
Yeah.
into it?
Yeah.
It that channels back too is then the people behind you don't want to dance because nobody else is dancing. Like sometimes you got to lead that charge. So I think we
I
did a good
agree.
job.
And
I think we pulled our
I
weight.
think, yes, we did a great job. And the everybody sounded great. Shout out to the crowd. Everybody was singing along, which what normally I would not normally believe like think that to be the case at a Julien show. But yeah, even she told us this was one of the things we need to make sure to mention. It's just Julien was like, "Oh yeah, I threw out my voice last week preparing for these shows." It's like, so please sing along with me if you can. And immediately and then just like belts the entire show, comes on, does over in appointments, and just belts out I have to believe that it is, and like the most incredible set of vocals you might ever hear in your life, and you're just like, that's not fair, you can't be that talented.
Yeah, if that's throwing out your voice, then the rest of us are screwed, man. Because I don't have that when I'm even at full capacity screaming in my car. I don't have that range.
it's,
I'm not
it's,
there. And you can get up on a stage in front of 800 people and do it better than the live record. We're all screwed.
it's that's a thing, folks, that if you don't like who don't know Julian's music or whatnot, like go see her live, and you will understand how amazing of an artist she like truly is. It's insane. Like she's a great guitar player, obviously, but her vocals are incredible, obviously. Um, and a great performer in the band. The band, my goodness, the band was terrific too. I'm gonna pull up their names here in a second so that way we can make sure to shout them out. But like that was one of the great things about this show too, is that like she mentioned this during the show too, which is that they kind of reworked some of her older music, rearranged it for the full band feel to make it sound newer, and that was so cool. Highest on that of which, of course, was I think I almost murdered you when this happened.
Oh,
And it
yeah, I got a very
completely,
sharp elbow when this occurred, but I also gave you one, so I think it
yeah,
was a fair exchange. I have
yeah.
pointy little elbows here.
Yeah, Julian was explaining like, oh yeah, we rearranged some of these older songs to give them a new feel with the full band. And she was like, "Oh yeah, this next song is called Happy to Be Here," and I lost it, dude. I lost it.
There was really just a very, very small world where I ever believed that that song would be, 1, on the set list, and 2, included in the show that we were at.
Mm-hmm.
And both of those things occurred, and I knew that it's Richie's favorite song. He talks about it. He loves that song. It's on
Yes.
his running playlist somehow
Yes.
without making him sad enough to stop exercising. Uh, and we both threw like vicious elbows at the other person across the barricade. What? Please say exactly what you told me that you did to me when that song came on. Do you
Oh
remember
yeah,
it?
I gave you shaken baby syndrome.
He did. I like got like a full. I got a full shake, a full margarita mix across the barricade, and I was like, I know. I'm excited for you.
I don't know if I let out a shriek. I don't think I did. I could have. I don't. I think I was too in shock to do so. But
I don't remember
um,
if it occurred or not, so you're safe from that. But
yeah, I don't. Um, I I think I just was like my jaw dropped in excitement and immediately took to shooking you, which was
you're like, what's the
probably was.
closest object I can do? Oh yeah, shake Jordan. Okay. I don't know why that was the first response, but here we are.
um, and the full band arrangement of "Happy to Be Here" was like just can we release that, please? Can we put out a live record, Julian? Can you do that for us, please? Because I don't think she's maybe done that once, maybe, but not even like a full set list. But she did like the audio tree, like that kind of thing. But
Sure.
um, just yeah, please put out that version of the song somewhere so we can listen to it on a regular basis. Because it made a great song, like even like perfect.
Can we we'll shout out the band for that again, and we'll shout out the band because, and you know this better than I do because you're the set list guy and you like to do
Hmm.
your research beforehand. I like to be surprised. Um, I don't know what that says about our personality types, but it's probably something we'll ask the astrology girlies in the podcast. But credit to them because it seems like they are playing a different set list every night, or at least, adding and removing things. But for the first 3 shows, at least for every night that she was in Chicago, they did pretty much an entirely new set list. There were a couple of
Hmm.
crossovers, but the whole vibe of the thing changed. And that's a luxury that you're really only afforded if you're playing a small, sort of intimate, small room show like this because you don't have cues and lighting and staging and, accompanying videos or anything. Like if we talk about like, I don't know, Clancy tour or something like
Yeah.
that, even
Hmm.
even a larger tour where you have a prescribed sort of cues and backing tracks and things that go with your songs, you aren't able to deviate from the set list. But when you do a small room show like this, you can kind of play whatever you want within reason. And not only is that a testament to how cool it is to have sort of a discography that's deep enough that you can pull some of these cuts that you haven't played in a while, but it's like it speaks to how incredible of an artist Julien and this entire band are that you can pull those things on the fly and do them and arrange them and rearrange them for a live band and just be able to do that on the spot is like what an incredible collection of artists on stage,
Yeah.
and how lucky we are to experience something like that.
Yep, I have their names pulled up here, so we need to make sure to shout them out. This is important.
Address them
Of
all.
course,
Yep.
yes. Of course, we had Matt Gilliam on the drums. I'm glad we made you proud, Matt, when we were saying everybody does. At least I hope we did.
I
I
hope
hope we
so.
did.
Yep.
We have, of course, had Calvin Lauber, who was on backing guitar. We had Hannah Reed, who was on violin. We had Lars Brogan, who was on bass, and we had Noah Forbes, who was on the keys. That's Julian's touring band this time around, and yeah, they were incredible. And to your point, um, I most artists don't have to do what Julian is doing here, which is like she truly does not have to do that. She does not have to change the set list and go above and beyond to do that to give every show a more special feeling. And the fact that she's doing that here is really really awesome. And I would just like to point out that I truly think we got the best set list of the bunch so far. So we picked the right show, and Braving the Rain made it so worth it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Maybe it was. It was like, hey, these guys toughed it out all day. Let's put on a really good show for them. And I mean, regardless, all of the 3 set lists from the Chicago Nights and even the one that she had in DC the other night with Barty Strange looks like it was, I mean, they're all going to be incredible shows. So get out to
Yes.
one if you can and you have the means and the opportunity. But I selfishly, I think that we got the best set list so far.
Yeah, we got a lot of little oblivions, which was cool. We got Favor, obviously. We got Hardline, we got Bloodshot, Relative Fiction, Heat Wave, Ringside. So that was cool. And like all those songs too are really awesome to hear with the full band too, because they're bangers, man. Like we know Little Oblivions is a banger of an album, and then even with the live version of those songs, like you mentioned, like there are no songs in which we should be banging our heads to Julien Baker at a show, but god damn it, we were.
We were, and we needed to be, because that was the energy in the room. We're
Yeah.
simply feeding on the energy in the room. It went so hard.
and again, there is no song in the Julien Baker discography where you should be jumping around. And I was even doing that to Everybody Does, which I told you. What did I tell you on this very show multiple weeks ago? I said the most hype song was Everybody Does. And you looked at me and you said, you crazy son of a bitch. There's no way that is the most hype song. What?
Okay,
And
but
that's what
then
she
you
was
added
with.
the asterisk that was like, hey, full band crowd involvement. They love it. To your point,
Yes.
that completely changes the game and changes the environment. And Matt from behind the drum set was like, you better sing. Y'all better sing. Like, oh, challenge issued.
And we said bet. We said bet, and we
said
pulled it
bet.
off.
Yep. Yes, we did. I think we did. I hope we did. I wish we had a perspective of what it sounded like outside of the front row, that we could hear how much we carried that if we did, but I think we did a good job. It felt like we did a good job.
I think we crushed it. We also got a couple new songs on this tour. The song we got was called "High in the Basement," which is great. I was looking at the lyrics of that the other day, and it was, and I can't wait for this song to be released officially, and so we get like the actual lyrics as opposed to like maybe some like question marks involved. But great
You mean
song.
when we
Great
all
song.
tried to learn Boyfriends by Boy Genius from blurry internet videos?
Yes.
And by the end of the tour, dang it, everybody knew that song. And we're like, what
Yes.
the heck? Yeah. Like, oh, y'all have been studying. Okay.
Which I'd like to point out again that we nailed that, because we were like talking about like what to expect from these shows, and we're like, oh, well, is she going to put out some new stuff? Is she going to do covers, etc., etc.? And she gave us 2 new songs, which she played both of them, I think, at the DC show. At the Atlanta, she played both back to back. So
I love them. They both sound great. I'm excited for whatever that future project ends up being. If it's like a record, or if it's an EP, or if it's just singles, whatever, they're going to be great.
We got Claws in Your Back. You sent me something that we hadn't had Claws in the Back live in like a ridiculous amount of time.
Yeah, it's been since, I would assume, like Turn Out the Lights tour, like 2018, 2019. It's been the same for over. Yeah, we hadn't had Over or Claws in quite a handful of years. The first night got some live debuts for a couple of things. Crying Wolf had never been played, which is a mystery to me.
That's just shocked me. Yeah.
Rejoice has only been played a handful of times since 2019, and we got that song, and we got a little bit of a blurb behind it from Julien as well. But that's cool. I respect the fact that they were willing to go and dig out some of these deeper cuts for us and make it a show. And I think that, again, that's an opportunity that you're afforded when, like, in an individual tour environment, whereas like some of these festival shows that she'll be playing, they're going to have a completely different vibe because it's not her show. She's part of the ticket. So to be able to get a full, I don't know how many songs there were. There was quite a few. I mean, it was probably like an hour and a half set.
Yeah, we got 18.
Yeah, I mean it felt like a full show. It was awesome.
11 out of 10, no notes, incredible.
Mm.
Yeah, just I don't know if either of us are going to ever experience anything like we did again. Unless unless we're dumb and go and stand in line for 12 hours again when she rolls through our towns.
Yeah, right. What about the next JB tour? Because it's never too early to start manifesting, as we've learned.
Yes.
Let's talk about your greatest achievement here, other than hearing "Happy to Be Here" live. Let's talk about Richie's greatest concert achievement, if you will.
Oh, yes. Okay. So, show is over. As Jordan set out, I believe on this show, maybe not, maybe it was off air. I don't really remember. But one of our goals was so we Barricade was one of them, obviously. So we
Mm-hmm.
knocked that out of the list, right? That was number one. We wanted Happy to Be Here to be played, so that was goal number two. um, uh, Number three on the list, I may be missing one. Sorry. Number three on the list was to get the set list. Now, this is something that I have never done before. Okay, I've never even really tried to do it, to be honest. Um, Even at the smaller venue shows I've gone to or smaller artists, it's not. I've never really tried to do it. I know people love collecting those, and that's their thing, and that's cool. So I've never really tried to do this. So show's over. Security guard who you made friends with earlier in the show because you hooked him up with a piece of gum. Shout
Yeah,
out.
he hooked us up with water, and I was like, "I'm opening this fresh pack of gum. Would you like a piece?" So, shout out. I don't know. Be friendly to your security
Yeah,
guards.
exactly. It may pay off later. Anyway, so we find out that the security guards aren't the ones that can give us the set list. It's got to be the stage crew, basically. There are, I don't know, probably half a dozen people behind us with signs that said "set list, please."
Yeah, and that was when it got a little pushy and shovey toward the front. Was
Yeah,
like people that had been somewhat closer to the back started to come up to the front and hang out and loiter around and see if they could get one, and they were asking for one. I was like, I'm not sure that they'll be able to do that. And so, like you said, the security guard was like, nope, it's got to come from the artist, got to come from the stage crew. It's not me.
yeah. There's probably, I don't know, probably about 20 people or so around
Mhm.
us just waiting and trying. Yeah, they go and they kind of go and they give off to some. One guy grabs one, comes up to the end of the stage, and for whatever reason, I mean, so first of all, there's a nice little gap between the stage, which is risen up pretty high, and the barricade itself. And so it's not like the guy could have jumped down and handed it straight over to somebody. Literally had to toss this thing.
Like a frisbee, and it's a piece of
Yeah.
paper with tape on it. And I don't know if you've ever tried to throw a piece of paper. It doesn't really go that well. It doesn't always go where you expect it to go. It's kind of heavy. It's kind of wonky. It's like trying to catch a playing card. Like if it throw and catch a playing card, it's like the
Yeah,
hardest thing known to man because you don't know what's going to happen to it.
exactly. So he just chucks this thing off the stage, hoping somebody will catch it. Well, luckily for me, ladies and gentlemen, as we previously discussed on the show, I am tall, so I have longer arms than other folks, and so he tossed this pretty much right in front of you and I, more or less. And so I reached out, and in my great reflexes that I have and my long fingers, I managed to grab it. And I outreach everybody else, and I grab this thing without dropping into the floor. And I grab it, and I'm like, I don't even know what I don't know what I said. I don't remember what I did. I didn't like celebrate because everybody else was trying to get one and act like an asshole and be like jump around like, oh, we got it. Well, grabbed it like, oh shit, we got this. That's cool.
I do think you were at least half in shock about that achievement as well, but I have to shout you out because that was athleticism. This is what a raw
Athleticism.
athlete. That's what a raw athlete looks like with his go-go gadget arms that was able to reach over and pull one back. And I think there were a few people that were like, "Oh man," just like that was the general sense of everybody behind us that didn't get one. Um, but it wasn't like, I'm gonna fist fight you for it. Again, it was not that kind of show. It wasn't like anybody was gonna try and wrestle each other. It was safe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there were some folks who were like, um, who were mad that it was a guy that got it and was like, hey, you know what? I know the lyrics to Happy to Be Here. I'm supposed to be here, okay?
This man stood outside for 12 hours for this and got dunked on in the rain. Like he's entitled to his spot as much as anybody else.
Yes, exactly. I'm trying to pull up this picture. Let me see if, hang on, where is it? There, okay. Here we
Like I could go
go.
take it down off my wall, but it's not going back up if I take it
This
down.
is an approximation of how excited you and I were to get this because that's not the right nope, that's not. Oh, that is it.
Mm.
Here we go. Yeah, this
Yeah, I know the
is
picture you're talking about.
there we go.
I was important to note, I was not trying to shake this photo. This is just how it came out because I had one of these post concert. And yeah, that's about how excited we were in a nutshell.
Uh-huh. There, yep, there it is. I can rustle through some of the other pictures here. There we go. There
Yeah,
it
we can
is.
slide through it. There it is. I want to say I believe we got it was either the bass players or Calvin's set list because these have chords listed on them, and I
Yeah.
think it came from that side of the stage. So
Yes.
that's also cool too. Is like it's a little personal touch on there
Mm-hmm.
instead of just a printed piece of paper. And what you don't see here is that the back of this gaff tape has a huge chunk of Thalia Hall stage attached to it. It's like wood from the floor because that's how serious this adhesive is. And that was also funny. Is like whoever had to go and rip it up off the stage, like took part of the stage with it. Anyway,
It'll be with
it's in
us
very good
forever
shape
now.
though. Very good shape.
Yes.
And I framed it and I kept the tape around the outside. I didn't want to cut it down to size or anything like that. So it now lives in the JB alcove, as Richie's called it. It's
JB
the
alcove.
corner with my record player in my apartment.
All right, so there's that. Side note, we legit, folks, kid you not, this was legit like our precious, our one ring to rule them all and our child, as we previously referenced, because we kept this thing like so safe. This was not going to get crumpled. This was like I had to keep it on the dashboard of the vehicle at all times. There were a couple times when we were turning and going around corners. I went flying a little bit and I got a little bit concerned, but nothing too bad. So we kept it safe.
No.
We put it in your passenger seat after you dropped me off at the airport.
I was halfway tempted to buckle it in with the seatbelt. I didn't, but I was halfway tempted. I was like, for safety.
For safety. Let's see what else. I don't even know what else you put in there. There we go. There's Julien.
That's these are all Richie's photos, by the way. My phone was in my bag the entire time. I have nothing to show for it. That one, and then I think there's one more at the beginning of the post. That was the song in E break, and this was I don't remember which song this was. But they were all incredible. But realistically, that's about how close we were. Like this isn't.
Yeah.
There's no telephoto lens or anything on here. It was crazy to see this with my own eyeballs.
It was exactly. So that's that recap. And then shout out to Thalia Hall for doing this because both of us were super, super concerned that because we were obviously getting Barricade and depending on the venue, the merch people want to get the hell out of here. They shut down the merch after the show. And so we're like, oh crap, how are we going to get our merch? Because shout out the merch looks Julien at Slow
Down Dry Goods, ex Julien Baker.
Yep. They crushed it with the merch on this tour. So we really want to get our hands on some and shout out. We did. And so we were able to hang out in line after the show and get the merch and spend way too much money on it. But hey, you know what? Who cares?
Yeah. I saw two people playing rock, paper, scissors for the last carabiner. So it was really
That's right. That's right.
So we didn't get one of those, but we loaded out with everything else we wanted, I think.
Yes, we did. If you give me like 10 seconds, I can go grab my shirt that I got. So I can
okay, I'm gonna dash too. We'll both dash.
Okay. And timeout. Okay. Oh god, damn it. Fuck me. too old.
I win. Barely. I threw my butt in that chair. You want to go first? You can go first. Show and tell.
Yeah. There we go. I got the. If you could leave at any time.
The hardline merch. Love that.
Yes.
Is there anything on the back? Oh, yeah, there is. You got the tour dates. Right on.
Yeah. That's why I decided to get that one. Oh my god, there's so many.
Yeah. I was with that one, except
so I know I do have a ticket.
Makes me
I do have a ticket for the show on the 27th, I think, in LA. Have no idea if I'm actually going to end up going or not. We'll see. I don't know. It's on a Sunday, which is actually when my actual job is. So I don't know if I'm going to end up going or not, but we'll see. So
maybe you could like trade somebody with a Saturday ticket or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mine is this one. It is this I believe is a what's the word? It's sort of like a repurposed design.
Yeah,
the original shirt was there you go. The original shirt was a Smith 7 design that they repurposed and did a little tribute to. And also shout out Comfort Colors, because I have a couple of these shirts that are from this brand. They are like such a good material. They're soft, but also like a heavy weight, but not like the starchy cotton, because sometimes tour shirts can be a little value brand cotton shirt, you know what I mean? But this is it's a good soft material. It'll last a long time. So, and shout out to Smith 7 as well. The Roots.
Then we got obviously we have these. These are sick. This is actually honestly truly one of the coolest pieces of merch I think an artist has ever put out. And this shirt's like it's so comfy. I can wear this all day. I have worn this like 3 times since.
I love when artists do unique merch. You and I were talking about this. It's like rather than just doing branded tour t-shirts or something with the artist name on it, if you get a little creative and you start selling things that people can wear every day or in different scenarios where you aren't normally going to be wearing a tour shirt, like that's awesome. I love that.
Yep. Shout out to Slow Down Dry Goods for that local brand out of Memphis where Julian's from. Yep. So shout out to them. Again, before we wrap up, and we knew we were going to go long here, and of course we are. Truly incredible evening. I don't know how it could have gone any better.
I don't know. We hit the quadfecta of things that we wanted, which was to go and then to have everything else fall into place after that was incredible. And the Airbnb was walking distance, which was so clutch too, because you and I have suffered through some bad shows waiting for an Uber after the concert, and especially on like a rainy night and in downtown, you never know what your odds are going to be. And even though it's a smaller venue, it was so clutch to be able to just go and walk and get there. And then you could go change clothes in the middle of the day, and like planning ahead pays off. Dang it. I get flack for being the over-prepared friend, but planning ahead pays off. That's my extra gene.
Yes, in this case, it absolutely worked. It worked.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of anything else. I can't really think of anything else.
I mean, I think we got it covered. Just like if you're close at all to any of these shows and you have any interest, go see Julien and the band, because you will not be disappointed. And you might get some badass openers too. Like the folks that she's picking to come along on these tour dates are all incredible artists, and the best thing that comes out of that is like you gain an appreciation for 1 or 2 new bands that you like, and maybe you start following them too. It's the circle of life.
The cool thing is it seems like she's picking like in each city, kind of picking more local to that city names. Ratboys from Chicago. Barricade has I believe from that DC area. So
I think he's got maybe some New York or DC area roots.
So there's a part of me that wants to believe that when Julien goes to LA, Muna is going to open up on at least one, if not multiple parts of those days, which is part of the reason why I'm like holding on to that ticket, because if I find out Muna is opening for Julien, I'm calling into work that day. Like, sorry, can't show up.
You could get Lucy Dacus. You never know. You
That's
could get
true.
Phoebe
Yes,
Bridgers. You never know.
that's so true.
There's tons of artists that live and work in LA that are incredible that I think would come along on this ticket, like no questions asked. And if that
Yes.
happens, I fully expect you to call in and just get in your car and go. Just make it happen.
That's so true. Well, that will 100% be the case. All right, everybody. I think that just about does it. Do you have anything else to you want to mention?
No, we covered it. I'm still just such in awe about the fact that we made this happen. I think maybe we manifested a little too hard, but like, we'll be there for the next 2 or 2, and probably the one after that, and maybe the one after that, and just forever until we die, and we can't go to the shows anymore. And then once we die, we'll be there in spirit too. So
That's so true. There's one more thing I do want
yeah.
to mention, which is JB scolded us. I would say scolded us,
It
but
was
not
not
really
us.
us. It was
It was a
it was a
general us.
group. It was a group of folks
Mm-hmm.
that got scolded because they tried to sing Julien happy birthday a week before her birthday. I'm in charge here.
You know that's about to go triple platinum on all those TikTok edits of Julien Baker.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. All right. Oh, I do want to mention I did watch the movie that makes you old on the plane.
That's true. He texted me. He's like, I'm about to watch the movie about the beach that makes you old. And I was like, okay, was it good? It's like, absolutely not. But, it was, that's what we were expecting. Just made me laugh.
I literally watched it because it has become a joke between you and I, that movie,
Yeah.
which we had never seen until just now.
Right. I need to get behind that so that next week we can recover and recap the movie about the beach that makes you old. Says, okay, I got it back. Okay, so it didn't start rain. It biblically poured on us, obviously, all of Tuesday. And then when I got back on Wednesday, it was like totally chill. I was sitting in the sunshine. And Richie goes, I swear there's like a curse on that city, meaning Chicago, for me, like the beach that makes you old. I said, the beach that makes you old is a forever goated joke. And he goes, well, guess which movie I just finished on this flight? The Beach That Makes You Old. Yes. Was it good? Absolutely not. About what I expected. 2-star letterboxed. So maybe I'll get on that for next week because we're not going to have a lot to talk about. We'll have like a couple of Agatha episodes in The Beach That Makes You Old, but that'll be a riot.
Yes, exactly. All right, everybody. This has been our Julien Baker deep dive episode. Hope you enjoyed it. And we're vicariously through us enjoyed what we had to say about the show and whatnot. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts and whatnot on the internet and social medias at OHOBC Pod, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Until next week. Goodbye, everybody.